You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
Are you a diehard comic book collector?
Or maybe a lapsed fan?
Maybe even someone who has never picked up a comic book in their life. Hi, I'm Remso Martinez.
And I'm Mark Claire. Every single Wednesday at the Second Print Comics podcast, Remso and I take a deep dive into the storylines, character arcs, moments, and events that made us the fans we are today.
Tune in every Wednesday for new episodes available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and wherever else podcasts are available.
Check out more from the Second Print Comics podcast at secondprintcomics.com.
Prepare yourself. You're on the run with Remso W. Martinez.
Hello, Craig.
How is it going?
I shaved just for you tonight.
You did that for why would you do that for me?
Well,
what were you getting? Were you getting the Fu Manchu? I haven't seen you in probably a month.
Well, it stayed the same. So it was the discount Robert Downey Jr. or the bargain brand Tony Stark, where it was the mustache, but then the disconnected goatee.
I got you.
I've had that for 10 months.
Oh,
and I'm going to grow it back, but I have a question. How long have you had your beard and stuff?
Since 2014, the day I stepped off of base and took my papers with me, I haven't shaved since then. And no, this is all it gets. This is as far as it goes.
Okay, but like you've gotten sick since 2014 at some points, right?
Yes.
You've gotten allergies and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, not allergies, but I get colds and the flus and probably COVID, I'm sure. So.
The Ronas. Have you ever sneezed so hard that it's gotten like all over yourself?
Disgusting.
I had a moment. So like I got upper respiratory infection in June, and I had that happen where it got all over my goatee, and I was like, this is nasty as shit. So I jumped in the shower and I was like contemplating shaving it then. But this past week, I just had allergies overload. And not only do I look like death, I still think I look like death. I'm 7 shades less Puerto Rican, but it got like all over my goatee again. And then like after taking a nap for a few hours, I woke up, I looked in the mirror and I had dry snot in my mustache. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I knew I was going to get a haircut because I'd grown my hair out, as my mom calls it, the fascist haircut, where it's like super high and tight on the sides, but you let it grow out so you can fold it to a side. So I had that. So I was like, fuck it. Everything is getting shaved. So I got my old high and tight back. I feel clean and normal now, but now I feel naked as shit because I haven't seen my face in 10 months.
I was going to say, is your face freezing now?
It's not like it's actually freaky. Like as I was shaving everything off in chunks, I'm just seeing like all this smooth skin, and I'm just like, that's not freaking normal. So I FaceTime my parents and they looked at me. They're like, what happened to you? And I'm like, well, you hated it from the beginning. And they're like, yeah, but like we got used to it. It's like, you should grow it back. I'm like, because it covers all of this. And they're like, yeah.
Basically.
So it feels freaky. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my hair short. I don't like, I tried it. Like it got wild for a while. I had that phase, but like the facial hair is coming back because I don't like feeling nothing there. It feels like a part of me is just gone. So maybe it'll come in and it'll come in thicker. Like I've got like multicolored facial hair. So it was always freaky. So I'm hoping it could stick to like 1 or 2 colors.
I have seriously had nightmares, like dreams where I accidentally like trimming up, like the thing falls off and I get like a big bald spot and I got to shave it all off. I have had like nightmares that I have to shave it off because I just don't want to go back to, I don't know what I look like. Like my kids see pictures of like military pictures from 7 years ago and they're like, oh my God, your head is so short. And I just can't imagine going back to that. And I do miss that clean shaven feel where when you touch your face and it's like,
I've been touching my face like
yes.
ever since then. It feels so strange.
Yeah. I do miss like the hot, because I would go when I'd come back and get haircuts like in town here, not on base. They just do the quick bullshit haircuts. But when you come
Yeah,
back
the Koreans do it.
Yeah, exactly. You come back here and they actually like give you like a hot towel treatment and a shave and stuff. And I miss having the option of doing that, but it's just not worth it to me. Like, I love my beard too much to ever go back to that. And if I ever like was mandated at my job to shave, I probably would quit just on the fact that I was mandated to shave.
Convert to Islam.
There you go. Imagine then, like, when people say, hey, you need to be mandated for vaccines to keep your job, I won't even like shave my beard to keep my job. So you think I'm going to go through that bullshit to keep my job? No, it's not worth it to me.
No, I totally get it. I mean, somebody the other day who I've known since I was 12, they FaceTimed me and they looked at me right after I shaved and they were like, you look rough. And I'm like, it's been a rough week for me with everything else. And like, it's going to grow back. Like, the one good thing about having it for as long as I did, like, I had kept it consistent because I called it my COVID beard, because when I had COVID in January, I just didn't shave the entire time. And that was also when I got my discharge from the Guard. So like both those things happened and I was just like, it's time to grow it out now. So I had been like getting my hair trimmed and stuff. So I messed if I let it get really long, like in what people can see, like my profile pic on Twitter and stuff like that. But with the facial hair, it's like, I always wanted to have something for a while. And I liked it. I like the mustache goatee look. I like it. The John McAfee or whatever. Like I think it suited me. So I'm going to grow it back. But it got to the point where it was just like, just for a little bit, I think it's good to kind of just, weed whack and start from scratch and let it grow. Because now since I've done it, and I've made all the mistakes of how to trim it and how to shape it and how to style it and how to keep it nice and everything. Like, now it's no longer intimidating. At the beginning, I was fucking up constantly. What length do I let it go to? I had to get styling trimmer and all this other stuff. So I'm like, keeping facial hair is a lot of work because of that. Unlike a beard, like I had to keep my sides and everything clean shaven. So I was still shaving and stuff. But now since I've already gone through it and I know what to do, it's like when it comes back, it'll be fine.
You already won the game, so you know what to do now. So you've messed it up, you fucked it up enough times, then now you should be able to do it right this time.
Oh, my problem was with my goatee. I tried to get it in a nice circle around my jaw, and sometimes I would nick it.
Yeah.
And then like the one thing I learned at the beginning was when that happens, don't even try and fix it. No, because if you try and fix it on that side or even on the other, it's going to look more like,
it's shorter and shorter and tighter and thinner.
Yeah, it's got to look like a landing strip. And guys, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was one of those situations where it's just like, you just leave it alone. So now I'm going to let it in. It's supposed to start snowing soon. And, I'm not going to go to work for a while. So like the patchiness of everything, the awkward, ugly phase that you have for a week or so, like no one has to see that. I'm just going to let it happen and let it go from there. But I think it's at the point where it's like, I've noticed that there are several types of people who have facial hair. There are the people who it just happened one day and they didn't question it. And then there were the people that grew facial hair and it's like they wanted you to see it.
Oh yeah.
And I think I was at the point where it was like, yeah, when I grew it, it was shocking. But then I got to the point where after like, a few months when people were like, oh, he's keeping it now. When I shaved it and people saw me earlier in the week without any of it, they were like, go back.
Right. Yeah, I when I got out of the military, I had said before I got out that I wasn't going to shave or cut my hair for a year after I got out. That was my goal, just because I was sick of doing both of them. Cutting your hair once a week, shaving every single fucking morning. I didn't make it the year for the hair because it just gets that awkward stage where it's just like, no.
You don't want to be urban Jesus?
No. I did get called Jesus by... I was working installing for Dish when I first got out, which don't ever go do that. That fucking sucks. That was the worst part of my life. I think I hated life so much doing that. But I had this promise I had made to myself, and my boss calls me up one day and he's like, hey, we're doing pictures for ID tags and we want everybody to get a haircut and shave. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I was like, I'm not shaving. I was like, I have not shaved in 6 months and I don't intend to do it for this stupid picture. I'm not shaving or cutting my hair for this. He's like, well, can you at least trim up a bit? You're starting to look like Jesus. All right, fair enough.
The one time where a Jesus comparison is not a compliment.
Right, exactly. So, but like I said, I didn't make it the full year for the hair. So I ended up cutting it, and I got out in April. I think I cut it right before Christmas because my wife was like, dude, you got to cut your hair for Christmas pictures. This is just getting ridiculous. So I gave into that. But then the year passed for the beard, and I was just like, nah, it's staying. I'm not shaving it. And I haven't shaved it. And then I think 2 years later, or 2 or 3 years later, my wife's like, I heard beards aren't in style anymore. I'm just like, I didn't grow it because it was in style. I grew it just because I didn't want to shave anymore. Look at me. I wear a t-shirt and jeans to everything. Do you think I fucking care about style?
Yeah, I noticed that like during the pandemic, people went super crazy with trying to do it. Like you saw the bro flow or the Keanu Reeves where guys were like letting it get down to their shoulders. And then I saw a lot of guys try beards and mustaches. Now, don't get me wrong. Like mine will never get like super bushy.
Right.
Like I have to let it, I have to regularly trim it to keep it short, but still like, you know, give it some volume, because if I allow it to try and get to the point where it might be bushy, it just comes off like the girl from The Ring, where it's just like her hair is all straggly and gross. Like it's just gross. And I can't do that. But there are some guys, and this is really funny, back when somebody sent me an Alex Jones clip, because apparently he was doing a thing on like male testosterone. And he went ahead and said that men who are like in the millennial age group, they have an inability to grow beards. So when they do grow beards, it's like these ugly monstrosities. And I'm just looking at, I'm like, I don't think that has really everything to do with it. But I did see some really bad examples of beards. Like I saw guys, like the whole neck beard phase was definitely something I remember in college. But there were a lot of dudes who were working from home and they were posting like their quarantine pajama selfies and stuff. And it's like they're just growing this shit out. And it's like, dude, get a trimmer.
Yeah.
Like, don't look like a meth head.
Right.
Like it involves a little bit of work.
Yeah, mine doesn't like grow down my neck or anything. I mean, it took a lot to get it to this stage. Like I said, it's been 7 years, and I mean, I trim it, not much, but if it's
a good Rasputin.
Yeah. But it doesn't get out of hand, and I have to put like the wax stuff in it to like keep it under control. Otherwise, it just like curls all up and is gnarly all over. Like I went backpacking with my dad and cousin this past week, and no showering, no like the minimal amount of care I take care of myself. And man, just like touching it was just like a bird's nest that I was just like, it drove me nuts. So before I discovered like there was actually like products out there you could put in it to make it okay and tameable, I wouldn't let it get past like maybe like a half an inch, because I was just like, I can't, it just goes everywhere. And then I discovered the fantastic beard waxes, and so it's manageable.
Yeah, no, that I have to use that Burt's Bees beard wax, because if I don't, after I trim it to bring down the length, it gets like real dry and straw-like. And it's one of the few things I could do for that. But I think, what I liked about having facial hair and why I'm going to let it grow back out is that it also made me appear older. And the joke at the beginning was that I looked like, as our friend Carrie Sloan lovingly told me, she looked like I was the Latino kid hitting puberty. Because at the very beginning, it was just very wispy. Like, my name is Jeff. It was just really embarrassing. But what I noticed was the other day, like I had been working from home all week. I took a few sick days to just get, all the crud out of my system. So I went to a bar with a friend, and this is the day after I shaved. I instinctively pulled out my ID when I ordered a drink.
Because you knew.
Because I knew.
I have not been carded. I'm 36 now, so I don't intend to get to carded now.
I mean, you're almost dead anyway. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. But I haven't been carded since I grew the beard out. Before, when I was shaving, I got carded for cigarettes when I was 30 years old.
Oof.
And the age was still 18 back then. I got carded for cigarettes, and now I don't get carded for anything. That is the one thing I do like about the beard. It's like I'll go into the drugstore up the road here and grab a case of beer and go up to this high school girl who's checking out. There's a cop like standing like 2 lanes over. And so I'll just out of the goodness of my heart, she won't ask for the idea. I was like, I'm just going to do this just to save your ass. I know I don't look it, but I want to cover your ass here, not mine.
Yeah, it's so strange. So like that's the one thing I want to go back to. It's like I'll keep my hair on my head short and on the sides, pretty clean shaven. But like the mustache goatee combo is definitely coming back because I liked it. People were like, "Oh, are you trying to look like Robert Downey Jr. or something?" I'm like, listen, I can only do so much. Yeah, because when I tried to grow it out on the sides, it will never be even. And if I try and let it grow like that, it's gonna look bad. And I don't really want to have that much hair. Like a mustache goatee is really like if you could pull it off, and I think I've been able to pull it off, like it can look really good and it's easy to manage. I know some guys where it's like they can't do it just because like there's a friend of mine who started growing out his around the same time I did between like January and March. By March, it was like full and really nice looking. That's when I was like, okay, I really pull this off. But with him, and it's not even his fault, he tried growing it. So he grew out the mustache and he got the Tom Selleck going. But when he tried to grow the goatee, it was like, I don't know how to properly describe it. It was like hairy nipples. Because it was like on either side of his chin, and it was just a divide, and it was just a couple long hairs.
That's crazy. He can put out that kind of quality of a mustache, but nothing down below.
And it wasn't his fault. It's not like he was aiming for that, but it's like it couldn't grow.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But he thought he was the sexiest motherfucker alive. He's posting his truck selfie, and I'm just looking at that. I'm like, I don't know how to describe that. That's not a goatee. That's like a few long dangles that you got to just go in there and trim, buckaroo. Like that's not good.
You can pluck them with tweezers. You should not have it.
He could have easily just like pulled them.
Exactly.
But he tried to grow them out. And the thing is, like, more hairs didn't pop up. Like the hair follicles just weren't working, but the hairs themselves were getting longer. So it was like, God, just keep the mustache. The mustache is cool. Listen, like I'm not saying that every person with just a mustache is a pedophile, but almost every pedophile has a mustache. But he genuinely, one, is not a pedophile, and two, looked good with just a mustache. Like if I just grew the mustache, it would not look good. The goatee is what brought it together. But it's like, guys, it's like you just got to know what the limit is. Like get experimental with it. Like you're not going to be super comfortable with it. But when you find something you like, go for it.
Right. Yeah, I had when I was still in, my wife came back here for, you sound like somebody's like a marching band.
Somebody is banging on my neighbors who live on top of me have just been banging something. So they're either fixing something, putting something together, or fucking.
It sounds like a bass drum to me. Like they just got a marching band, like a drum line going on.
It's like, bum, 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 bum. Today is going to be a day where I'm going to get back at you. Yeah. So I think he's done now.
That's good. The song's over. Or he's a really quick fuck, one of the two.
Did you come?
Oh, yes. It was great.
You just kind of rubbed against my labia for 7 minutes, but okay, sure.
Just one side. So so my wife came back here for like 6 months.
I'm glad you bring up your wife as seriously talking about.
So I told her, I was like, the second you'll leave, I'm growing a mustache because, you could grow the mustache in the military. You just couldn't go past the side corners of your mouth and had to be like an eighth of an inch.
That was like the true pedo mustache, though.
Yes. And that's exactly what I had. And I have pictures to prove it. And I'm like, I will not shave this until you come back. And I did not shave it until the day she came back. She's like, every time I FaceTimed her and stuff, she's like, you got to shave that. I'm like, you're not here. You can't control me. You're not doing it. I got the pedo stash, and she should have been happy for it because it's not like I'm going to go out and pick up chicks while she's gone with this pedo stash on my face. So, she should have been glad, but I did this for you to protect the sanctity of our marriage with this pedo stash.
What's with Marines getting those mustaches? Because no one in any of it's a branch thing. Like anyone throughout the military could do it, but no one wanted to because I always think it was like too much work. It's only Marines that do that. And what I always noticed was that they always went out of their way to like really purse their lip to show off their mustache because it's like the small act of defiance they could get away with.
It's that whole fuck it mentality. It's like, oh, Gunny said,
well, why not go full Hitler?
I mean,
because the Hitler stash is within regs.
It is technically, yeah. But the flat top's not within regs, and people did that too. So
what?
I don't know. Flat top's not technically in Marine Corps regs because it's got to be evenly faded. And flat tops aren't evenly faded. So technically flat tops aren't in regs. So yeah, you had information you probably didn't know.
You know what I realized though? Like no one actually gets like a genuine flat top.
Yeah.
It was always just a high and tight, but people would call a high and tight a flat top.
Oh, I had a gunnery sergeant that had a legit flat top and he pulled it off. And
like you could balance a plate on that shit.
Oh yeah, it was flat as shit. But I wanted to mention you had said that you looked like a Mexican kid going through puberty when you first started growing it out.
Yes.
My 11-year-old son came home yesterday from school and he was like, Dad, there's a kid in my grade who already has a mustache. And so instinctively, obviously, the first thing I ask him is he Mexican? Sure as shit. He's like, what? I was like, is he brown? And he's like, yes. I'm like, there you go. I was like, every brown kid I knew in middle school had a mustache for whatever. I don't know why they get it. They're early bloomers when it comes to those Mexi stashes.
Hey man, it's that and Indian girls. No, and I'm talking like Dot, not Feather. Like from India. Like I feel super bad. There was this Indian girl I remember in 8th grade. She was actually really cute, but I remember at one point she hit puberty and like everyone noticed her. Like she was a growing girl and everyone noticed her. And then all of a sudden she had a fucking mustache.
Oh no.
And it was like, oh my God, like you can fix that.
Yes.
Like this is a choice. Like you are willingly keeping the mustache. And it was so fucking strange. But it was one of those things where it's like, I noticed that Hispanics, Latinos, like everyone had that. And I felt super self-conscious because I was growing that out. But like some of these other dudes looked like they already had like 3 kids in a job at a garage, but they were like 16. So it's just like how did the testosterone hit you that hard, but not me? Yeah. I remember at my officer advanced camp, I was the youngest person there. I was there when I was 20. I had just turned 20. And there was this dude from San Juan, Puerto Rico, who was a previously enlisted soldier. And he was in his mid 30s already, but he was balding, but he was like hairy as shit. He was like, Spanish Sasquatch. I remember him complaining. He's like, yeah, I've got to shave like twice a day because I grow hair so fast. I have to shave. It's the Puerto Rican curse. So it's like, I remember that. And I laughed at that because I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Well, one day I did not shave as early in the morning as I should have. And I was going out to formation. Oh, and this captain grabbed me by the arm and just starts. And I'd never been yelled at by an officer. In fact, I've never seen an officer yell at somebody the way this captain yelled at me. But this captain's just going off on me. He's like, what the fuck? You're late. You're not squared away. What the fuck? Did you not shave? So I'm just like, oh God, like I'm going to get written up on like the first day of this course. Mm-hmm. So out of severe desperation, I looked at him. I'm like, I did shave, sir, which was the lie. But then here's the lie that saves me. I'm like, sir, I grow hair fast. I'm Puerto Rican. And he just stopped and he looked at me and he yelled at me some more, but I didn't get in trouble. And then he gave me a pat on the back and he said, you're a good American, Martinez. Get back to formation. And I was just confused as fuck because I'm like,
it worked.
It worked. And then like an hour later, because I was like in the middle of formation. The training NCOs and the one second lieutenant we had didn't even know my name yet. They just knew I was there, but they couldn't think of me as a person. I wasn't one of those people standing out. So I was able to like stick in the middle of the platoon. And when we got back to the barracks later, grab our shit, I quickly ran in with like my small Bic rate, my Bic shaver, and I shaved everything up. But I was just like, being a minority saves me. The only time it ever has.
Exactly. Yeah, I had one of those moments. It was a 96, but they wanted to the night before, because we're coming back on a Tuesday or something. So the night before, they would have us meet in town in a parking lot just to make sure everybody was back in town on time, and we'd have a formation. And I completely forgot about the thing. So I was already like probably 20 minutes late. And I was a corporal, and my sergeant snatched me up. Same thing, same exact scenario. It's like, why the fuck you late? Did you not shave? I did shave this morning. And this was like probably like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think that's what saved my ass the most, because he's like, you're not even fucking shaved. I was like, I did shave this morning with an electric razor. That's what shit saved me, because I was like, no, I was out in town. I used my buddy's electric razor, so it didn't get as close. And this is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And he called me out a few times. He's like, that's bullshit, blah, blah. I was like, all right, whatever you want to say. And finally he just let me go back. But I'm just like, thinking off the cuff there just kind of saved my ass, because no, if he ever listens to this, he's one of my best friends now from the military. No, I didn't shave. And you probably knew that, but how are you going to prove that, really?
So it's so funny that whenever, like, everyone I know who got out, and of the people I commissioned with, for some weird reason, like as officers, like we have very short life expectancy career wise. Like a lot of us got out as like first lieutenants, captains. Like it was weird. But like you could tell whenever somebody ETS'd, because they immediately started growing facial hair.
Yeah.
And they go full Santa. It's somewhere between Santa and Osama when they go for it, because it's just like, fuck it. Like let it go. Like I'm Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much it. Almost everybody I knew that got out they called it the freedom beard. They just want full blown. I don't give a fuck, not shaving anything, not touching it. I don't give a fuck, and just let it go. So I don't have the Tom Hanks look. I can't get like a ZZ Top or anything like that.
Yours looks like you maintain it. Like that's the thing. Like a good maintained beard is fine. But when I see these young guys who are growing it for the first time, don't get me wrong, I was one of them at one point, like years ago, when I was finally getting like stubble and stuff like that, where it's just like, you can make it like you can trim it up. Like there are things out there, just letting it go like free wild or anything like, Jack Dorsey, where he looks like, a Russian revolutionary. Like you can go ahead and tame that, bro.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. They've come a long way in men's grooming, like utensils and products and stuff. I mean, there's a lot you can do to make yourself look good. I even saw today, I was at, do they have TJ Maxx around there? It's like the stuff that didn't sell in the real store, so they sell
it's like a 24/7 garage sale.
Basically, yes. And whatever didn't sell at like Levi Strauss or whatever, they send it over to, it's like
have you ever bought like food or seasoning from there?
I've bought seasoning, yes, and coffee and stuff like that.
Yeah, like some of the stuff there, it's either like a hidden treasure or it's absolute bullshit.
Mm-hmm. So anyway,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was there today to get a gift for my kid's birthday party was today. So obviously last minute shopping. We went there this morning to get him a hoodie because I didn't want to spend full price on a hoodie. So I go to TJ Maxx. I saw this thing. This was a round mirror that was a two-sided mirror. Like the chicks use for makeup that flips over.
A vanity mirror, yeah.
Yes. It said, it was black though, not white. And it was labeled men's shaving mirror. Huh. I didn't realize.
I might buy that.
So if you don't think that there's enough things now for men out there to take care of yourself. They have a fucking vanity mirror marketed towards men now as a shaving mirror. So get off your ass and put a little effort into yourself if you want to grow the beard out, I guess, because they have a fucking mirror, a magnifying mirror. I don't think it has the lights on it that the women's did. You know, you click the button and it like glows like a selfie ring around you. No, I didn't think it had that, but it was black, so it must have been manly.
You know, it's the difference between like, you know, an assault rifle and a friendly one. Which one's black and has more shit?
Exactly.
You've been doing your podcast for more than a year now. How does that feel?
It's interesting because it doesn't seem like it has, like, it seems like it's been really fast when I think about when we started. But then when I think about how many fucking episodes I've had to write and edit and all that shit and post and everything, it seems like it's been forever. And coming up with something else to talk about week by week. Like for me, it's like we do a live stream now Monday nights. Not necessarily because we get a lot of viewers live. It's mostly because it makes me actually prepare ahead of time instead of like while we're trying to record, like, hey, pause this, I got to find this article. I actually have to get my shit together to do this live stream and make sure everything goes smoothly. But like we do that Monday nights, we live stream every Monday night, and it always gets to like Sunday and I'm like, dude, what the hell am I going to talk about again this time? What am I going to write? Because we do typically like 2+ hours, and we dig usually like for our episodes. I mean, I do quite a bit of research into stuff because it's usually stuff that interests me. So I want to look into it anyway. So I dig a bunch of articles and find a bunch of information. So week by week, I mean, it never disappoints. There's always something going on. Something always pops up. It's like, oh shit, that's going on. Let's talk about that. So, I mean, starting a podcast in 2020 was, I mean, it was a fucking gift. There was never a short supply of shit to talk about, especially when you're talking about doing a podcast that's basically like current events and how the government is fucking us all over and how the country is just going down the shitter. I mean, just the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, COVID alone, you could do an entire podcast on just COVID and how it, like you could do a week by week podcast on the changes in the COVID policies. I mean, nobody wants to hear that week by week, but you could legitimately. Last year, I mean, we haven't really heard much from Dr. Fauci in the last 6 months, but last year you could do an episode on the changes that Dr. Fauci made regarding his thoughts and concerns on COVID and have a completely different show every single fucking week. So, I mean, it's been great. Where our viewers are going up. We still have a lot of loyal viewers that have been listening since day one. I had somebody reach out last week from Norway and said, hey, your show is one of my top favorite podcasts that I listen to. I'm like, my first instinct was like, this is a fucking scam. This guy's like going to scam me for money.
And nobody lives in Norway.
Yeah, no, nobody fucking lives in Norway, but it's not a real place. But I was like, this guy's going to hit me up for money. But then he started saying, you guys have this amazing, like bullshit meter. And as soon as he said that, I was like, this guy's legit. This guy actually listens to us because no scammer. And he started saying the way you did this. And I like what you talked about this. I'm like, no scammer did that much homework just to fucking scam me. I mean, I've got the robocalls for the car warranties. And it's just like, hey, which car is it that you have a warranty that you're calling me about? And they're like, well, what kind of car do you drive? You didn't even do your fucking homework. So I know it's not a scammer. So for somebody in Norway to reach out, that there's that initial like, damn, we're international. And it's just like, and he's like, I even asked him, I was like, well, how'd you find my show? He's like, I don't know. I don't remember. It's like, all right, cool. You stumbled across my show. That's a good thing. So I love doing it. It's my favorite I mean, maybe it's sad, I guess, for me to say it's my favorite thing that I do week by week. Maybe that's a sad thing, but I love doing it.
What I like about your show, and it's really been the past like 6 months where I've really done a detox of like news, like content and stuff like that. I tell myself, well, I tell other people, like I know almost nothing about what's really going on. Like unless you really ask me and give me like 10 minutes to go online and figure something out, I've really tuned out. And it's because I had a lot of life stuff going on, but it also got to the point where like when I left the Washington Times, I think that's when I really stopped paying attention. And definitely when I left Parler, I was just like, I'm just kind of done. And even though my job involves me being politically aware of stuff now, I actually have to pay less attention to stuff than I think most people would really think. So unless I have to do something for work, I really don't pay attention. But what I also found was that my podcast subscriptions on Overcast, that's where I listen to all the podcasts I want to listen to, and I'm doing shit throughout the day. It used to almost always be political news and commentary, and it almost always used to be stuff that was considered libertarian podcasts. And I can tell you now, like a majority of it is either like sports, comics, or comedy. And your show is really the only one I really get my news from. So I don't know if that says something horrible about me or it really puts you on the spot now, but your responsibility factor just tripled. and what I like about it is like, for me, like, I think the level of libertarian podcasts out there have just become like absolute shit. Like it used to be some people that actually like had some skin in the game for something else. So they actually had credible insights and stuff from like on the ground where they could give a unique perspective on something. Now it's just like shit posters who just talk about shit that like no normal person would ever understand. So I think like, and I've never really marketed, other than the fact that it's part of the We Are Libertarians network, I've never marketed On the Run as a libertarian show. And definitely Second Print Comics has nothing absolutely to do with politics. We have listeners from all over like the ideological sphere on that, because it's just a comic book show. So like, what really got me, it's like I grew up listening to Glenn Beck like religiously and Limbaugh and others. And, like while I still listen to some libertarian commentary from like Tom Woods or something when something comes up, I've really tuned out. And what I appreciate about you and Bill, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, but like I know you guys are like right of center, but I don't know how you actually identify politically. And I think that's a good thing, because when you guys look at stories and events and stuff and you actually do your homework, like you come to conclusions that like they're always consistent, but it's not usually the answer that you get from somebody that's just trying to put out like, well, this is my solution and it's based off this book by Murray Rothbard and this is the ideal situation. Like you cover things like what I think 90% of America would want to do, which is cover them one by one, pro freedom, we just want to live our lives and do our work and take care of our families. It's the 90% of politically apathetic America that wants to know what's going on, but is willing to change their mind on something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's kind of been my goal. Like, I think I lean more libertarian, but if you asked any libertarian, they probably say no, because that's how libertarians tend to be. Like nobody's real libertarian. I'm
not a real libertarian, according to a guy on the internet.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I've dabbled in some of those like libertarian chat groups and stuff like that. And like you said, it's way over my fucking head. It's all just like, well, if you follow the policies of so-and-so and this and that, it's just like, do you have like Libertarians for Dummies? Because I mean, I'm new to all this shit. When we do our show, it is legitimately.
There is actually a book called Libertarianism for Dummies.
I might have to check that out.
There's libertarianism for beginners. There's libertarianism A through Z. Like what's funny is like those books do actually exist.
It's like when we do our shows, it's legitimately coming from like our personal like beliefs and feelings and stuff. And like we'll go back and forth on some stuff that we disagree a little bit on and like maybe change our minds and stuff. But it's like, it's not coming from, well, this is what the libertarian would say and this and that. It's like I started like this is just the shit that I feel. This is what's going on, and I think it's bullshit, and this is why I think it's bullshit, because not because Ron Paul said it's bullshit or the Mises Caucus says it's bullshit. It's because this is just bullshit. And like, to me, it's just common sense. Like, some of this stuff should be common sense to people, and you shouldn't need a party telling you this stuff. But for some people, like, I'll get people that are like, wow, I never really looked into it like that. I never even like made those connections. And to me, I'm just like, not like looking down on them, but I'm like, really? Like, this is like,
okay. Well, I mean, just an example real fast. When like the president of Haiti was killed, like I actually looked into that. Like that was one of those things that really caught my eye. That like, that's really a fucked up situation. The rundown that you and Bill did of not only what all the news reports and what the state governments were saying about what was going on in Haiti as it was breaking out, but then you guys actually did a history of like the political history of Haiti. Like that was incredibly good.
Like, people like, that's what I enjoy. And Bill's a history buff. He was majoring in history for a while, and I love history. And I always, like, when I read something, I want to know the backstory of it. Like, I'm the type that I will Wikipedia everything, not because it's a legit source, but because you can always get like backstories and stuff. Or
hey, Wikipedia got me through college. That exactly. And Red Bull,
Red Bull, uppers, downers, all that shit, I'm sure. Anyway, so I want the backstory. And so if it interests me, like, I want to put out a show that interests me. And so one of my favorite podcasts, like, I got into podcasts through conspiracy theories because I got really interested in conspiracy theories. I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist. I'm an enthusiast, I guess. I like listening to all those stories. My favorite podcast that got me into really liking podcasts was called Those Conspiracy Guys. They're out of Ireland, and it's like 2 or 3 guys.
Oh, yeah. They did an episode on like the Freemasons that I remember really digging.
Yes, they dig so deep. I've literally listened to 5-hour shows of theirs, so that they do that much digging and backstories into these conspiracy theories. It's not just the typical, like, brush through this and say, well, 9/11 was obviously this because this. No, they will like go back and do history, and they will bring up the history of all the characters involved. They like really do like character building in their like podcast. And like, I'd get done with, like, I'd be driving, listen to like a 5-hour podcast, and it'd be over. I'm like, shit, it's over. Like, that's how like grasping these podcasts were, like, really like keeping you involved, that even after 5 hours, it's like, shit, I want to hear more about this. Why is this over? And so when I do a show, I want a show that would interest me mostly. Not, I mean, I do go back and listen just to, critique myself or criticize myself. But I feel like if it's engaging to me, it's going to be engaging to other people. And I want people to learn shit. I don't want people to just see what the news is saying and be like, well, this is what's going on in Haiti, and Haiti's a shithole, and blah, blah. Well, why is Haiti a shithole? Let's go take a look at why Haiti's a shithole, because it wasn't always a shithole. Like, Haiti was like a flourishing, like, agricultural island. And then different superpowers, specifically the United States, came in and convinced them, hey, why don't you stop producing agriculture and become our sweatshops here and focus on like textile industries, and we'll open a bunch, and just completely derailed their economy.
Dude, that's one of those reasons they, like, you're a Marine, you know who Smedley Butler is, right?
Yes.
That whole like occupation of Haiti thing is one of those things that broke him. Mm-hmm. Like, that's like, he talks about that in War is a Racket. He's like, I went to Haiti just so we could turn it into like this giant source of cheap labor. Al Capone could learn a thing or two from how I went ahead and took over that government, because he was like a military dictator on behalf of the US government for like 4 months at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, the shit that, and a lot of people are all about like how great America is. I mean, on whatever side when you look at it,
I would rather be us.
I would too.
In many cases, but it doesn't leave us void of criticism.
Yeah. And I don't mind criticizing the shitty things we've done to other countries. And we've covered the same in, I think, the Syrian war. We covered backstory there. We've covered the backstory of the Taliban and how that came to be. Like when the Taliban took over Kabul last month, we didn't just cover like from 2001 till now, which is the only thing anybody ever knows about the Taliban. Like I wanted to know, well, how did they get there in the first place? Or, you know, what was Afghanistan before? Like, I think it goes a long way for people to actually learn some history of what's going on before they start jumping to like judgment or jumping to conclusions or whatever. Maybe we'd save a lot of shit from happening if we went back and looked at how it got there in the first place. But instead, we like to completely erase history and get rid of history because it's offensive, it's bad. Like there's so many shitty things in our past. Yeah, there's shitty things in our past, and we should be aware of the shitty things in our past so we don't fucking do it again.
Are your kids public schooled or homeschooled?
They're public schooled, unfortunately. We're a dual income household. And
Yeah.
I don't think I could homeschool. I would probably blow my brains out if I homeschooled.
According to my mom, I was the worst homeschooler ever because I only lasted like 2 grades. My brother went from 2nd grade through graduating high school. And after 7th grade, my mom was like, you got to go back. But it must be interesting because I know that your kids are younger, but like they're going to get to a point where they're really going to start learning what you know, like the social studies aspect of history, because it's going to be more than just so the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth Rock and we won World War II. It's going to start getting into the social studies realm. And I have always told people, it's like, I love history, but I hate social studies. Because depending on who's writing the book and everything else, social studies is a worldview programming. And, that's one of the biggest thing that has worried me, because it's one of the situations where it's like, if and when I have kids, one, I want to homeschool. Like I've prioritized my entire life. So no matter what happens in a situation like that, like I want to have the option to try it for a while at least. But it's like, if I teach my kids my view of history, even though I think it's right, how do I expose them to other stuff so they could still come up with their own opinion? Or if, let's say, I couldn't do that and they went to school, like, how am I going to be able to tell them? It's like, no, your teacher's wrong about this. Your teacher didn't include this. Yeah. It's one of those situations where the more I get older, the more I realize like how we set our children up with that. I don't want it to end up like some of my friends. Like there's this whole movement where it's like, 10 years ago, there were a bunch of parents that were having kids and they were already libertarian. So they're like, I want to raise my kid to be a super libertarian. And now the kid's a commie. Why? Because mom or dad pushed something on them and it just became a counter reaction to that. Yeah.
And that's how kids are. That's natural kids. Like you get the generational waves of, if you look back, you get like the World War II vets that were like super conservative, like not politically necessary, but like the short hair, you don't grow. And then the next generation was the hippies. And it's like every generation's like, well, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like my mom. So you get like ultra conservative and then ultra liberal. And then again, not politically, but just like
culturally.
Yeah. And it just goes back and forth because of that rebellion against your parents.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like, I hope, and it's, I was talking to somebody earlier and we were just on this rant about like everything bad in the world. And he was like, it's like we're living more in like Brave New World than we are 1984. And I've been saying that for a while. I've heard other people say it, but like it really hit me again when he said it. And it's like, we live in a situation where it's like we can believe anything we want to, and we'll find the stuff out there to back it up. Whether or not, though, we can understand the arguments for and against those things is ultimately determines where you're going to land on a specific issue. And I think what I like about your show versus why I have stopped listening to so many other commentators and other, news recap shows is it's like at one point, the argument just went out the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
you see it on social media, like, I'm an argumentative person. I just want to know that you know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, there are times I will argue with somebody, even if I'm on the right side, the same side as them. But if they don't know why, I'm going to push back, because you should know why you're arguing something. And those people, it seems like 90% of people that are willing to comment on your posts, if you push a little, they instantly shut up. Or, like, for example, somebody in our family posted something about vaccines, and my wife just kind of lost her shit for a second, because she's like, look, I don't care. Like, it's fine if you want to get vaccinated. It's fine if you want to wear a mask. Just don't push that on me. And that's all she said. She just commented on this person's post. And that person was like, this post wasn't up for debate. It's like, you're on a public freaking social media posting shit that you have the comments open, but it's not open for debate. My bad. So I think my wife said like one more thing. And then this is her family. This is her sister-in-law. Blocked her from Facebook, completely blocked her, blocked me from Facebook, because she didn't want to have any sort of discussion or debate about it. It was just, I know what I think. I don't know why I think. So if you push back, I can't argue. So I'm just going to block you instead.
I was in Florida in August for work, and I've got family in Orlando. So I met up with them, and my uncle, who I love to death. He's one of the few members of my family I'm really close to. Flaming liberal. And while we were hanging out, you better believe that, out of respect to him and everything, I kept my mouth shut on a lot of the COVID stuff, but, and it is open Florida. Like, I was really excited to be in open Florida. He's wanting me to wear a mask everywhere, and everywhere we're going to go eat or grab a drink has to have outdoor seating and stuff like that because of all the stuff. And it's just like, if he wanted to know my opinion on something, he would ask me. He does that. We have conversations about stuff where we disagree, but what I've kind of figured out is that it will only be a good conversation if he wants to have it. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like a lot of people on the left and the right, they kind of jump in because they feel like they have to tell you their opinion. And it got to the point where it's like, if I could do this and I could win all the arguments, but we're going to have a shitty night. Or I could just do this just because he's paying for my meal and driving me around, and I could focus on having a good night. And that's the thing that I found, with my first podcast I did when I was in college. It was a interview only based political show where I only talked libertarian shit. And the goal was to get it in front of as many people, because my thing was more people just need convincing. Now I'm at the point where it's I think most people, especially now because things have gotten so fucking crazy, most people are already pretty dead set. But if they want to go ahead and learn something different, they have to be open to it. And it has to be, instead of you going out there and putting your opinions in front of them, you just go ahead and put it out there. And if they want to find you, they'll join in, because that's what I figured out. Because I'm at the point, especially if libertarians, there's this whole debate between do we need better messaging and should we stay active in the political realm, or should we just try and become as, independently capable in our own lives as possible. And I think right now, very firmly, it's that, on the political end of things, I think America is mainly spoken. Americans by and large are going to choose the worst fucking options.
Oh, yeah.
So my thing is I can either try and convince people who think that you need to shut down businesses and mask your kid, that maybe we should have school choice and other stuff. Or I could tell the people that already agree with me what step 2 is. Mm-hmm. Which is, okay, now you've already figured this out. Now, how do you take more of that freedom of choice back? Mm-hmm. And, it's one of those things where it's just our placement in the world, things have become so small. I felt like I can't do what you do, because it would just make me so fucking depressed all the time.
Yeah. And
Like I could not do it. I tried doing that when I tried coming back, when I rebranded my original podcast as the Remso Martinez Experience. It was going to go back to that, but I tried, and I listened to some of those episodes where I was doing news and current events and stuff. And I'm like, I'm doing a horrible job because I fucking hate it.
Yes. Yeah. And I've said this before on my show, is the thing that me and Bill survive it with is we have a dark sense of humor and we can laugh through the shit regardless. Even though we fucking hate all of it, we can find a way. Like, we just bullshit our way through it because, I mean, it's a joke. It's all a fucking joke. But then there's a guy that has a podcast in the area that I've been on a show a couple times, and he does news commentation stuff, and he does it like every single day, a daily show, and he's just mad and pissed off, and just everything's just like the end of the world, and like he's like totally black-pilled, what they call it, I guess, what the kids are calling
He's a doomer.
Yes, and it's just like, dude, I would hate my fucking life if that's how if that's how it made me feel doing this. There's no fucking way I would do it, because it would just, like you said, it would just depress the hell out of me. I don't want that. I enjoy keeping some humor in it. There are episodes that I like after Biden made his vaccine mandate or whatever. I came on pissed off, and the whole show was like ranting and pissed off. And sometimes that's needed. But at the end of the day, I can go back and enjoy myself afterwards and not just like be like completely shut down because of it. And if it ever gets to that point, I'd be like you and be like, I can't do this. It's draining me too much. It's affecting me outside of podcasting. And I've actually quoted you several times on my show. It's like, dude, you gotta work on yourself. That's the most important thing. That's the one thing I get out of your new show is it's more important to work on you and your family, because the government's not going to fucking do that for you. So for us, it's never been like specific politics. It's like, make yourself a better person. And that I got straight from you, from coming on our show and saying these things. And I say that over and over again. It's like, fucking work on being self-reliant, self-dependent, because no politician really fucking cares about you. No politician's going to fix your life for you. Only you can do that. And that's what I get out of your show is I love the direction you've went, because it's all about, first of all, it's mostly lighthearted. And second of all, it's
a lot of dick jokes.
A lot of dick jokes and a lot of finding ways to take care of yourself. So be self-sufficient, make yourself a better person. So, I mean, that's more important to me than anything else, is like taking care of you and yours, because nobody gives a shit about you, really. And in the end, everybody's fucking selfish. In the end, everybody's going to vote for the guy that they think is going to benefit me the most. Not like you. Everybody says, oh, it's for the good of everyone. No, it's just about what you're going to get out of it. Are you going to get free shit? That's really what it comes down to. Or are you going to side with my... Everybody,
Joe Jorgensen was like the biggest winner of 2020. Like, I'll here's my reason for that. Because not only did she get a huge following, and now she can go on and get paid to do speeches and write a book or do whatever, she got a new job out of it.
Right.
Like in the middle of it. She became like a tenured professor or something. Oh, okay. I don't know if it was because of the campaign. I think it may have been something in the works before, but it's like this lady, like, I don't have anything nice to say about her. I really don't. I mean, I'm not she's probably a nice person, did some good and stuff, but like she's really like one of those people where it's like all these libertarians who, it became less about like fighting the lockdowns and fighting all this shit. And it became more about like boosting a person. And it was one of those situations where it's just like, I have nothing like nice to say about it. Like this person, all this stuff, all this talk you did, like all you did was you gave her all your time and your money. And like, you can recoup money, but you just spent time like talking about somebody who doesn't know your name and doesn't give a fuck about you.
Right.
And speaking of voting, like this is actually kind of freaking funny. Do you know who Grant Cardone is?
No.
Grant Cardone is a real estate mogul. He's a financial advisor. He's He does Cardone Capital, which is a real estate investment firm, but he's a big online personality. You've probably seen his videos where he's teaching you how to become a millionaire and stuff like that. And he's written a bunch of books. Like I really like Grant Cardone. Like when I was really getting into like finance and like how to build businesses and stuff like that, I listened to his stuff. I still watch his videos, and he's just like this over the top guy. And he admits to it. He's like, I'm over the top because it gets me attention, but here's where we actually talk about real stuff. He's not a scammer. That's what I like about him. Like he's one of those rich personalities that got really popular on YouTube. And, he's done a lot of good for people. And like, he is conservative, but he rarely talks politics, but he started getting into things over the past year because he really didn't like Biden. He was one of the first people to be like, I think Biden has dementia and everything else. And I mean, with Cardone, like he grew up in a trailer. His dad died like when he was 2. His brother died when he was 13. He was a car salesman for a while. So he's a real rags to riches guy. So like the over the topness, some people are like, they really don't like that, but he's like, this is how I grow. This is how I get attention. But like recently when Biden put out the workforce vaccine mandates, Cardone went out on Twitter and immediately said, I'm suing the federal government. And now with his show, which is about like financial advice and real estate advice, he freaking went on Rumble of all places because he did an episode of his show talking about why the vaccines don't really work, and it got pulled from everywhere. So overnight, he went from Grant Cardone, rich dude that teaches you how to become a millionaire, to Grant Cardone suing the government. And he's posting like all these Thomas Paine quotes. Like he went super like libertarian, like super freaking fast. And it's absolutely hilarious. And now there are talks of him running for president. And the first thought that went through my head is that because if he runs for president, he's not running as a libertarian. Mm-hmm. And libertarians will go after him because they're going to call him all these things just because he's going to have nothing to do with those people. I already know that. I don't know if he's running for president, but I can tell you $100 if he is, he's not running for a freaking third party. And libertarians will try and tear down a self-made millionaire who's created hundreds of jobs, who's living the American dream, whose whole entire goal is to make people financially independent, just because he's rejected a label or he's not 100% there with something. They will just attack him. And I look at it and I just see like a sea of worthless people. And I'm like, you want to talk about messaging and everything else? Grant Cardone, whether he becomes president or not, is going to make more people aware of financial literacy and how to get their act together than anyone fucking else.
Right. Yeah. And that's the one thing I was hopeful about with Trump, I guess, when he like looked at running back in 2016 and before that, it was just like, it'd be good to get like a businessman in office to straighten shit out, like to actually straighten the business of this country out. That would be a good thing. But I mean, Trump didn't do that. I mean, he didn't take down our deficit like he said he was going to, and he didn't limit the spending or anything like that of the federal government.
He thought that government would adapt to him. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that. Like not because it's wrong. I wish they kind of did to a degree, but like, you're taking like the most ineffective bureaucracy and you're expecting it to adapt to somebody who actually wants to work. It was never going to happen. So in effect, he ended up adapting to it, which brought about some of his worst moments.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's coming from somebody like, I voted for Trump. Like, I'd vote for Trump again. I want him to come back. I genuinely do.
For what purpose exactly? Like, what benefit does he have coming back now besides I'm not saying he wouldn't try to get shit done, but they're so polarized now that it would be like the last 4 years where nothing was allowed to get done on steroids times a billion.
I have conceded two things. One, I have conceded any idea that we're ever going to have a fiscally conservative monetary policy. Mm-hmm. So I'm just at the point now where it's like, all these people demanding checks and stuff, like, just go ahead and fucking print it. Like go give people more stimulus. Go give blacks reparations. Like it doesn't fucking matter because at this point, it's like how you use your cash matters more than how much cash is being printed. It's like I've been telling people, it's like if you're just somebody bitching about the Federal Reserve, but you're not looking at how banks and the billionaires use the Federal Reserve to get rich, you're already losing the argument because nothing we or Rand Paul or Thomas Massey are ever going to do is going to change this. So it's like use all the money that's being printed and dispersed and either use it to buy cash producing assets or value hold assets because that's what the rich do. And then what they do when they get all this new printed money is they pass it on to us in cash as debt. So you can either use it for something good or not. And, cash producing assets that generate cash flow, crypto, gold, that type of stuff. Like there's a reason why you have all these capital investment firms that are buying up Bitcoin like crazy. So I'm at the point now where it's like, we're never going to get rid of it. So you either, one, you don't want a dollar collapse because we should be very lucky as Americans. The dollar is in the position it is right now, good, bad, or indifferent. I would rather have the dollar than anything else. And we're not going to get rid of the Federal Reserve. So I can either just be mad about it, which I am, or I could just accept that this is how it is. How do I make it better for me? So I'm just like, you know what? You want to print another $1 trillion? Fuck it. I'll be fine. And you want to send out checks to people? Like I'll find a way to get that money from them and just reinvest it. So I gave up that. And I think Trump gave that up the moment he did, not the second round stimulus, but not the first round stimulus, because I think everyone was on board with that. It's like, government, this is your fault. Like you should give us that. Like I use my stimulus to pay my taxes, but which felt so perverse, but it was like, so I gave up on that, but I also gave up on this idea of anything effective coming out of the GOP federally. And I say federal GOP because I think at the state and local level, Republicans still can do a lot of good. I think anyone who's a Republican in Congress or Senate is just Democrat controlled opposition. Mm-hmm. So if Trump comes in, like what we see is that America has no shits given when it comes to federal powers and executive powers. They just completely give up. They want a dictator. They really do. They voted for Biden with the intention that he would shut down the country again, and they want him to do all these crazy things. So they don't really care. And Republicans really didn't when Trump did it either. So if Trump comes in again, like give us a Trumpocracy where he's just going to go out and do so much shit by executive fiat that, like we're probably dooming ourselves later. But if we can get rid of a lot of shit in the way now and hopefully eliminate some stuff for later, like that's the only way it's going to get done. Mm-hmm. So short of like a General Milley military coup or something like that, I see him a lot like a Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland did not serve 2 consecutive terms. He didn't lose his reelection. He just chose not to run again after 1 term. But after another term had passed, the Democratic Party wanted him to come back. And when Cleveland came back, winning a overwhelming majority of the Electoral College, he was not like first term Cleveland. Grover Cleveland's actually one of my favorite presidents. He's probably he was the last conservative Democrat. He was a very strict constitutionalist in a post Reconstruction era. But second term Grover Cleveland is not comparable to that because he went pretty hardcore on a lot of executive actions, and he did things such as expanding the debt for the first time in a state of not actively being in war and stuff like that. It wasn't a pretty presidency. So I could see Trump coming back and then, if he wins, just running things however the hell he wants. I mean, the first thing he should have done is what Obama did when Obama became president and what Biden's been trying to do the past 8 months, which is just clear everyone out from the previous administration. That was Trump's first mistake, which was letting people keep their jobs in good faith. And they immediately look at that act of kindness and they're like, wow, I need to do everything I can to ruin this. Instead of being like, wow, he's letting me stay. This is bipartisan.
This is a loyalty thing now. No, there's no loyalty, nothing like that. And I think second term Trump would be complete insanity because it's like any second term president. It's like there's not the restriction of I want to get elected again because you're not going to get elected again. So second term Trump would be bizarre as shit. And I would welcome that just to grab my thing of popcorn and just see where the hell this goes, because man, we'd be on a fucking wild ride with second term. Don't have to worry about re-election. Don't have to, I mean, there's always going to be people throwing impeachments at him because, I mean, that's what we do on the opposing sides. How many times have they suggested impeachment on Biden in just the last 7-8 months? Probably 5 times that they've tried to write up impeachment.
It's all coming from like the same people, though.
Oh yeah, the Marjorie Taylor Greens and those people. So
I like that lady too, and that pisses a lot of people off. She's batshit crazy.
Oh yeah,
she's batshit crazy. What I loved was when they exposed that she was having an affair of 2 men behind her husband's back, and then when reporters tried like cornering her on it at the Cannon Building in DC, she looked at them and she was like, "What made you think he didn't know?" And she winked and she walked away, and the story died the next day. Like that lady, whether you like her or not, is a freaking honey badger. She is the AOC of the right. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but what I'm saying is I would rather have her with us than otherwise. Yeah. It's a weird fucking thing. It's like that in Paul Gosar. Like, you know, all these like super conservative populist people who you just don't fucking understand how they're there. But it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you got to pick and choose your allies. And I would rather, you know, shack up with them than otherwise, because it's like, you know, you still have these people. And this is funny because I brought this up. And somebody got super pissed at me. I'm like, I would rather vote for an independent or Republican Grant Cardone for president than a libertarian Justin Amash. And they're like, Justin Liberty. And I'm just like, fuck Justin Amash. He's never had a real job. He was a lawyer out of school. He immediately went to the state assembly. And then he's been in Congress, where he spent most of his time just trying to make himself more popular, which I don't disrespect the game. That's how the game is played. But it's like, you know, when it came to really do shit, he just went full anti-Trump. And then he voted on the most like bogus impeachment charges ever. Dropped, you know, before that, he dropped the GOP, become an independent. And the only minute he was a libertarian was when he was trying to run for president. And then when he didn't get a full on, you know, like, you know, crowning, like freaking British royalty or something, he packed his bags and he quit. And it's like, what has he really done for anyone other than just bitch on Twitter?
Well, the worst part of it was when he did go libertarian to get the crowning, as you call it. He didn't even like put all his eggs in that basket. He wasn't like, I'm running for president as a libertarian. It was like, it was like an exploratory thing where he
did that for tax reasons, which is the most ridiculous thing. It's like, fucking jump in or don't.
Yeah. It's like, are you in or out? And like when not everybody jumped on it, he jumped ship as quick as he dipped his toe in it. And it's just like, clearly you're not that committed to it. If
I bought a gallon of milk the day that he announced he was running, quote, running. And by the time he dropped out, the milk was still in my fridge.
That's pretty accurate too. So, and I'd rather, honestly, like I'm more of, like I said, I'll watch it burn because it's burning anyway. I would rather get the loose cannon in there that thinks for themselves, no matter how bizarre it is, then get the guy that like agrees with everything the party, Libertarian, Republican, Democrat, whatever, is just going to go along those lines and do exactly what everybody says that they should do, and just be so very like along. I don't know, just like. We know
it's almost like they're like regurgitating a religion. Yes. That's the thing that's so off-putting about it. And what I would like about seeing Grant Cardone run, whether he would be serious about it or not, would be the fact that, you know, this guy, and I was never able to really plug him anywhere politically. It's only really within the past year and within the last month where he's really been laying it on thick. But it's like, you know, this guy's always just been like, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You've got to figure this shit out for yourself. You know, money doesn't fix everything, but you know what? A lot of things can be fixed by money. And like he has made so many people through his seminars and his books and his show. He has made so many just average people insane amounts of money. Like, it's one of the situations where it's like, this is a dude who develops other people. And I would rather have somebody that says empower yourself before you go and change the world than have another Joe Jorgensen where it's like, we support Black Lives Matter. And, COVID's bad, but, like, you should really, like, just understand that if you're not actively not racist, that's not the same as being not a racist and stuff. It's like, lady, like, who the fuck are you appealing to?
Yeah.
Like, who is writing your shit? Like, you're not helping people. You're not even helping libertarianism. It's like, you're not making libertarians look better. You're making us all look dumber. And only a college professor could achieve that.
Right. I had seen recently, it was a debate. This was from pre-Joe Jorgensen. So this was when this was between election cycles. It was a debate between Dave Smith and the LP chairman. What's his name?
Nick Sarwark. I can't stand either of those people. I don't talk to Nick Sarwark. We don't like each other, but I also am just not a fan of Dave Smith, and that's a really unpopular thing to say.
It is if you're a libertarian, apparently. Well,
I'm not a real libertarian, so I could say it.
You're inside of libertarians.
If you're not actively like sucking Dave Smith's dick, there's something wrong with you, apparently. Yes. So there's something wrong with me.
But anyway, I saw this debate whether or not they should have put Gary Johnson up in 2016 or
the Soho debate.
Yeah, and so Dave's up there and just being Dave and running it like politically incorrect, not trying to appeal to. He's just like saying how unlibertarian Gary Johnson was. He's like, he didn't support this and he supported this, that disqualifies him automatically and all this stuff. Well, then Nick gets up and he's like, well, it's all about, if you don't get the votes, then we don't have the power. So would you rather have somebody that is he basically said, have somebody that's more libertarian in their views, but doesn't get the votes, or somebody that's a little less libertarian in their views, but brings in the votes and gets us in power? And it's just like, so basically you're saying water down your message to get votes. And that's completely what I hate about all politics. That's why I haven't subscribed to the Libertarian Party or any party. And I don't say I'm a staunch libertarian. It's because I'm not willing to water down my views to get fucking votes, because like you said, nobody's going to fucking change everything. Like, nobody's going to get rid of the Federal Reserve. No libertarian, no Gary Johnson's going to get in and just sign an executive order and do away with the Federal Reserve. It's not going to happen.
But here's the other like stupid thing about that. And this is why, as much as I don't like Nicholas Sarwark, I believe that he won the debate, because Dave just never understood this one thing, which was he kept saying that we should never nominate somebody like Gary Johnson, Bill Weld. And he kept trying to pin it on Nick Sarwark. But it's like Nick Sarwark, he won the debate by answering one question, which was, I'm not arguing for or against that, really. All I am is the chairman, and I go ahead and I take the votes of our delegates at our convention who have all been nominated by their states, and I go ahead and lead us through the convention process to choose our nominees. And Dave just won't get that. And it's like, that's also one of the things. It's like political parties, people are still trying to grasp this, but Trump did not become a Republican despite the Republican Party. He became a Republican in spite of the Republican Party. Like, it was really him who did it. He like, when you looked at his donations throughout 2016, he was one of the lackluster people. He wasn't even like the top 10 overall for the entire cycle until the last month of the general election. But it's like, I would rather have a Grant Cardone. And I even said this with Howard Schultz in 2020 when the Starbucks guy was thinking about running. Not that I would have supported him. I still would vote for Trump like I did. But, like, he was one of those people where it's like, I'm going to do this myself and I'm going to be me. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, I'm not going to change it. And I don't have to deal with parties. And it's like, I would rather have somebody like a Grant Cardone running entirely as himself, probably as an independent, versus really anybody running for the Libertarian Party. Because what are they going to do? They're going to talk about trying to, reach out to all these apathetic and independent voters, which I've never believed in that. I really don't believe those voters really exist. But it's like 90% of the time they're just already talking to people who were already going to vote for them. So what's the gimmick? Like 2%, like that's less than what we had in 2016. So you had two of the most like contentious presidential cycles ever, and you spend 1 year talking about, Aleppo and other shit with Bill Weld basically endorsing Hillary Clinton in the 11th hour. And then in 2020, it was all like, Black Lives Matter, burn down your business, which the government shut down. But, we need to stop racism. And it's like, what the actual fuck? Like, let's really talk about the stuff that's like actually harming people right now.
Right. And, I like what you said about the party guy that's only going to pull in the people of the party. And that's kind of what I feel with, and I don't want to sit here and bash on libertarians. Most of my contacts throughout podcasting are libertarians, and I love all of them. I love the libertarian theories and all that stuff. But when you have a staunch libertarian podcast, who are you reaching? Who's listening to that? Libertarians. I mean, you're not changing minds really for the most part. I mean, you're going to get people that, like me, that didn't really know about libertarianism, but knew that there was what they felt that the government sucks and didn't know that. So you might pull in some of those, but there's so many out there now that it has kind of turned into an echo chamber. I think it's just libertarians talking to other libertarians.
Yeah. I mean, with my show specifically, and, I think the We Are Libertarians network mostly gets this, but it's like my show is not just about talking about libertarianism. My show is like, you've already pretty much agree with me. Let's talk about the ideas actually applied for things.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I've never marketed my show as a libertarian podcast. First of all, like I said, I don't subscribe to the Libertarian Party. I don't even know half the shit about the libertarianism. But I just want to talk as a person, not as a libertarian, and like what my views are and what, like I said, I don't want to water down my feelings towards something if it doesn't line up with the Libertarian Party or if it doesn't reach a certain demographic. I'm just going to say what the fuck I feel like. And if that pisses off libertarians, if that pisses off Republicans, if that pisses off Democrats, I'm sorry. That's just the way I see life and the way I do. And that's probably, I mean, I don't have a big poll right now, but I think that's going to pull in people from more directions, like across the spectrum, than just being a libertarian podcast. Because,
well, I mean, it's like with Joe Rogan. Like, do you think any two Joe Rogan listeners are like exactly the same?
Oh, no, he reaches everybody. He has guests from every like all across the board. He has, well, most celebrities or musicians that he has on are probably going to be very staunchly left. A lot of them, any Hollywood actor,
Steven Tyler is oddly conservative.
Really?
Yeah, from Aerosmith, like that kind of. Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
That is surprising. But then, like Joe Rogan is a perfect example of a podcast that is pretty political, but isn't like directionally towards a specific political group. So, I mean, that's what makes, besides the fact that he's fucking Joe Rogan, that's what makes his show as successful as it is that he can pull in people across the board and just give his views on a topic or just discuss, like just being able to openly discuss things with people that disagree. A lot of commentators aren't willing to do that. You're not going to get, I mean, you'll get the Sean Hannitys that will have a leftist on, but he's just going to talk over him and interrupt him the whole time. So you're not going to hear the guy's side of the story either way, because that's what Sean Hannity does to everybody who calls in, is talk over them and give his opinions. Or I don't know, are there leftist podcasts out there?
There are, and they take up a big market space, but it's like liberals talking to liberals about stuff liberals like. And it's like with libertarians, like the thing that I've always criticized a lot of libertarian podcasts for is it's libertarians talking to libertarians about why they chose to be libertarians.
Yes.
And it's like with Rogan, like what, and this is why the Spotify deal, I think the Spotify deal has ultimately harmed him. One, because the Spotify app is shit. Like trying to stream the video version onto my Apple TV is a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But it's like, he was stronger before that because he was his only editorial control. He was already rich. He didn't care if you tried to cancel him or not. And it's one of those things where it's like you have a lot of people, and I saw this in radio a lot when I tried getting into radio. It's less about people trying to build a name brand because they have genuinely something different to say. It's because they're trying to build themselves up to say what is going to make them more popular in that sense. Mm-hmm. And it's like with my show, things were not the same when I stopped doing how I used to do things. Like things are, I think now it's like I have less reach, but I have more influence. Mm-hmm. And by that, it means, I'm not going to get in front of as many people as I used to because I knew the formula for how to get in front of tens of thousands of people.
Right.
But one, nobody was coming for me. No one gave a shit about me. And two, the things that I believed and the things that I thought and the things that I thought were good solutions for what people can implement in their own lives, it fell on deaf ears. Whereas now it's like the reach is smaller, but the influence means more now. Mm-hmm. Because I'm actually meeting people and connecting with people, and people are using my content and stuff to try and better certain aspects of how they make decisions and do things. Sure. So it's one of those situations where it's just like, we could have the votes, but at the end of the day, I don't think we created any new libertarians last cycle. I think a lot of people that voted for libertarian for the first time, I doubt they'll ever do that again. And cycles actually show that. Like they're not becoming libertarian. They just hate other people less at the moment.
Yeah, no, I understand that. There is one leftist podcaster that he's more on the left that I actually enjoy listening to, and that's Brett Weinstein.
Brett Weinstein being a liberal is still one of those things where I'm like, why do you still fucking call yourself that?
Yes, that's just it. Well, the fact that he's liberal,
well, it's like, technically Jordan Peterson is a socialist.
Really?
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
He's never called. He started out. He actually worked for the Socialist Party of Canada. He was actually called back before he became a professor and everything, one of the top young socialists in the country. And even though he's on like the right end of the spectrum now, he's never called himself a conservative. I've never even heard him give a defense of like, the capitalist system or anything. It's just that he's not some type of social justice warrior that makes him automatically conservative these days. But with Brett Weinstein, it's like, why would you still support these ideas that are creating these crazy people who hate you?
Yeah, well, he's more of like a traditional liberal. Like,
what does that mean though?
I don't know, more like the Kennedy type liberal. But I like not because he's all exciting to listen to, because his voice is very like dull.
It's like the soundtrack to a vasectomy. And I like the guy. I'm just saying that, it's hard. Like I have to have some coffee with him. While I watch him.
I like that he is willing to criticize his own, which you don't see that really often anywhere. If he is still a true liberal, if he is still following that, he's able to take a look at the bullshit and call bullshit what it is and be like, what the hell are we doing as a party, or as a like what are we doing? Like he called out originally, he called out the Occupy movement on colleges. He said, like, if we don't get this under control, this is going to no longer be like a college isolated thing. This is going to become a national thing. And then when the protest broke out last year, he's just like, look what I said 4 or 5 years ago with the Occupy movement, that this is what I predicted 4 or 5 years ago. And he called out all the bullshit for the protests last year. And so I can tolerate him because he is willing to criticize his own. And that's why I can I'd say that very, very minutely tolerate Bill Maher when he does every once in a while come out and say and call the bullshit like what are we doing? Why are we wasting, even just for him to say, why are we wasting time with this? That's enough for me to be like, not too many liberals are willing to come out and have the balls to say, guys, we got to look at this for a second and ask ourselves why we're doing this. And so that's why I can listen to a little bit of Bill Maher these days, but then he keeps talking. And I'm like, okay, there's the old Bill Maher, and I got to shut him back off.
You know who's had like a weird second coming? Russell Brand.
Yes, I have seen some of his shit on YouTube, his podcast on YouTube. I'm like, where the fuck did this come from?
Well, what's really funny too is like I've been watching some of his stuff, but I started taking jujitsu a few weeks ago because I don't have enough pain in my life. And I apparently Russell Brand I think he's a blue belt in jujitsu. He's been doing it for a time now, and I've seen some videos of him rolling, and he can put really bulky dudes in submission. Like he's very talented. Like he's put in the work. But he did an entire episode talking about jujitsu, and like I'm watching this. I'm like, who is this person? And what's funny is like he's had like Jocko Willink and Ben Shapiro on and stuff like that, and like he'll start off with, "Listen, mate, I think you say some interesting things. I want to let you know I'm a socialist. I believe in all this stuff, but let's have a good conversation." And he's not a dumb person. No, like he's actually he's a very insightful and a very like he's gotten older, so like he's a lot more tempered. But like I've enjoyed listening and watching a lot of his stuff recently.
Well, the fact that he's willing to say to Ben Shapiro, "Let's have a good conversation," is something that is very lost in across the country. Like it's, hey, let's have this guy on to scream and yell and tell them how they're wrong. For the most part, it's just like, we're not going to have this guy on because they might change some of our listeners' views, and we don't want that. It's kind of like a pastor getting an atheist up on stage. They're not going to do that because then they're taking a risk of the atheist possibly convincing some people in their church that God doesn't exist. And that's bad business for the pastor. So the best pastors are the ones that are actually able to have a healthy debate with those people in front of people. And that's what I like about Russell Brand is he's willing to have that healthy debate, whether they agree or not.
You know, it's weird though. Like not just counting On the Run, but like when you count every show I've ever hosted, I've probably got into like the 500s by now. I've only ever interviewed 3 liberal guests.
Really?
And it wasn't for a lack of trying.
Right. No, I've never had a liberal on my show.
It's hard. It's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Like really one guy, he started a super PAC called Resurgent Left. Kip Muller, he ended up running for California State Assembly as a Democrat. And we had an episode about gerrymandering reform. And like, it was a very positive episode. I had somebody who was a Green Party candidate on, and we talked about why she wants to reform Child Protective Services, which I thought was a very libertarian stance. So we focused on that. And then we had I had a friend, Maya, on who, is a very, let's call her sexually public individual. And we had a conversation about, men's view of thoughts on the internet. And I'm talking like THOTS, like those thoughts, that type of stuff. But it's like, that's been spread across like 5 years, and to only have 3, like at one point somebody was like, you need to have more on. And it's like, what makes you think I haven't tried?
Yeah.
And a lot of them, like I'll give some like, devil's advocacy for them. They probably don't think I'm going to be fair. But then at the time it was like, I was just getting started. There wasn't enough about me. It's like, now if you don't think I'm going to be fair, like I go after my friends and stuff as much as I go after everyone else. I'm not interested in debating. I just want to learn more. So now I think I'm in a better position where I think if I did a more concentrated effort, I could try. But, like I've tried to bring on people who, I tried to bring on this woman who runs a finance YouTube channel. It's called One Big Happy Life. And it's her and her husband who became millionaires by the time they were in their mid 40s. And now they're financially independent. And I wanted her to come on, and she wouldn't come on because she thought I was like a right-wing political show. inherently. So I've got people who are on the opposite side of the spectrum. I don't even want to talk politics with them, but because they see a label or they see a tweet or something, they think it's going to turn into a political debate.
Right.
Or they might get canceled or something like that. It's like, it's stupid, but it's only, as much as I hate Republicans on a lot of things, I can get a Republican on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
To talk about solely Republican shit. I can't get Democrats to do that.
Well, it's almost like you say, the fear of getting canceled. It's not even like what would be said. It's like you can get canceled just for being an associate of some. Oh, he went on, or this known socialist can't be a socialist because they went on this racist libertarian that hates poor people. You know, as all
it's like those people calling Nicki Minaj a white supremacist because she tweeted that Tucker Carlson put.
Yes. Yeah. If you have any association, white supremacist Nicki Minaj, who had, what was her hit single last year? Was she
It's not Cardi B.
Oh, same thing. Same fucking person. I don't.
She was Cardi B before Cardi B, and Cardi B was like, I have to be something more than Nicki Minaj.
She's washed up Cardi B. But again, if people Google so and so, like if people Google a name that they're looking for, and then they see that they're on this show that there's people they don't agree with, they're like, oh shit, this person has flipped, or I can't believe they're associating with Remso Martinez or Tucker Carlson or whatever. I mean, just the association is enough to get you canceled. Like just going on the show. What even if Nicki Minaj was to go on, was it Nicki Minaj?
Yeah, it was Nicki Minaj. You got it. It was Nicki Minaj.
Now I'm getting mixed up.
I called Nicki Minaj Cardi B this week. It's okay.
All right. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Even if Nicki Minaj went on Tucker Carlson to...
They both have big personalities.
Yes. Yes, personalities is what you're going for. Just to blast him and tell him he's fucking wrong, tell him he's a racist or homophobic or whatever it is they call every conservative, even if that's what she was going on, just to be able to Google and see that, oh, Nicki Minaj was a guest on Tucker Carlson. That's enough to get her canceled no matter what she said. And that's what I think you probably have a hard time getting liberals on your show, is because they don't want that. A, they don't want that the fear of association, and B, half the people with strong opinions have no argument for the strong opinions. It's just they have the opinion.
Well, it's like they've never been tested. And you know, it's great to be, you know, like in the Army. I don't know if the Marines had like a equivalent of this, but have you ever heard the term like Spotlight Ranger?
No, I don't think so.
Spotlight Ranger is the guy who's like always like super high speed, always has their act together, 300 APFT, like everyone loves him. But like, you know, when it comes to actual, like, you know, training, harsh training or combat situations, he might be a buddy fucker.
Oh yeah. We had all kinds of those.
Yeah. Buddy fuckers are universal in the military, but like, you know, with situations like, Blue Falcon. Like with situations like that, it's like those people are never tested, but it's like, you know, I had to write a piece for work originally about like the state of young conservatives in Wisconsin. Like, what do they do? How do they think compared to other, you know, previous generations of conservatives? And what I realized, I had to change the whole piece because the piece ended up becoming a cancel culture piece. Because a bunch of people either refused because they were afraid that their bosses would find out, or other people would find them online, and like half the people that answered my questions refused to be quoted directly, or they wanted to be anonymous. So it was a situation where it's like, you know, even the number of people who would otherwise typically be your most public advocates, it's amazing the people that you don't want to get on in a broader sense, because even then it's like, oh, then you're really fighting, then you're really in the ring for that. But yeah, if like liberals specifically, you know, it's like, you know, my degenerate panel on my show, you know, Sean, Derek, and Zed.
Yep.
None of them are libertarians.
Yeah.
Yeah, like none of them are. And, you know, we have, they're all conservative mostly, but like everyone has like their own, like, you know, one thing that makes them a little bit different from each other. But yeah, like when it comes to that, like, I don't even want to debate these liberals. It's like, I want to talk to you about something where I want to praise you and highlight something you're doing. And yeah, I know you're on the opposite end of the spectrum than me, but we don't even have to talk about that. But even just like what you mentioned, that association, like it's made it harder to do shit. Like, I've had less and less guests on because one, I've wanted to talk more about things myself, or, I've just wanted to do some other stuff. I was traveling a lot too. So scheduling was a bit of an issue, but like it's harder to get people on now who I have not met prior than ever before. It used to be me or my publicist would cold contact somebody, and usually used to be able to get them on. But over like the past, from the summer through now, it's been incredibly difficult.
Really?
And for a lot of people who are not in a political realm, like, well, if I want to talk to somebody about like finance or jujitsu or travel, well, like, I as much as I love the We Are Libertarians network, I do think that sometimes that's a barrier. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we need to change that. We are who we are, and there's a reason who we are, and we're doing really good things. And if that's going to be the thing that bothers you, then, maybe you're not a good guest for me. Maybe that's just if that's going to bother you that much, that's fine. But I've had enough people on my show who are not libertarians, who I just want to talk to about awesome stuff, and it's never been a problem for them. Mm-hmm. Like I had John Lee Dumas, who's one of the top 5 podcasters in the world, on my show. He hosts Entrepreneur on Fire. I had him on my show, and it never came up as an issue. And I got to interview him, and he's a person who's not political at all. Yeah. So it's like, but also at the same time, it's like he's a giant celebrity millionaire, like who's going to cancel him? So it's one of those situations where it's like, he probably gave very few fucks. He's like, you want to talk about how build self-confidence? I'll get you there, man.
That was nice.
I try.
Yeah. I like I said before, I like not really being politically affiliated as a podcast, and I want to keep it that way. And I find like I'll post random shit. Like I used to only post the really charging shit on my podcast page because I didn't want to get into it with like family and friends.
Well, it's like the art of non-politics. It's being political by not even being political. I like that term, the art of non-politics.
You should coin that. But like, then I found I'm like, well, I'm just kind of talking in an echo. If all I'm willing to do is post this shit on my listeners, like forum, then I'm not really doing anything. I'm only just talking to my listeners. I'm not like really changing anything. So I started posting some of my more charging shit, like about my views with like, for example, Biden, his mandates, or the whole the bank account stuff going on right now. Started posting.
And don't you wish Parler still worked?
Yeah. I still find myself plugging my Parler tag. So, but it's interesting because I'll post that shit on my just personal page, and I'll get reshares and likes and shares and all this stuff from people from both sides. Like people that I know are hardcore socialists will like and share my shit just because it's not like I don't take a political, like a party stance. I'm not politically affiliated. I'll just say, like, for example, I just posted the people that agree with Biden's proposal to dig into your bank accounts are the same people that were fine with the NSA hacking your data because with the whole sentiment, like, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong. Those are the same people that are okay with Biden digging into their bank account. I'm not doing anything wrong. I was like, wake the fuck up. And I'm getting people sharing that shit from who are hardcore socialists, people sharing that shit that are hardcore like MAGA people. And it's just like, see, this is how things should work. You should be able to say something that you disagree with. You should be able to call out bullshit for what it is without people being like, well, you're just a Trump supporter. You're just a whatever. I'm none of those things. I just see bullshit and I call it out. So not being politically affiliated, like not being like tagged a libertarian podcast or right-wing podcast or something. I think like people actually will listen to what you're saying for what you're saying instead of for what, oh, you're just a MAGA hat wearing. No, I've never come out and endorse Trump. I've never come out and I endorse Spike because Spike's fucking awesome and he doesn't wear a shirt most of the time and he has beautiful nipples. But other than that, I haven't really endorsed.
That's such an inside baseball thing.
I know people are gonna
somebody who's already been like, okay, like they lost me on some of the stuff. It's like, who has good nipples?
They're like, oh, this is a really good episode. They're making wait, spiky nipples? What? But I think just people not knowing what political side I come from makes people maybe actually stop and listen to what you're fucking saying, because people see that tag, whether it's if you're like diehard saying, Trump deserved to win this shit, and then you come out and say something like that about bullshit about Biden or bullshit about whoever it is, they're going to be like, well, obviously you're saying that because you're a MAGA guy. No, that's not why I'm saying that Trump or Biden digging into my bank account is bullshit. Is not because I'm a MAGA guy. It's because Biden digging into my bank account is bullshit, and you should see that for what it is, not for my political affiliation.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We've hit 2 hours, one of the longest episodes we've done in a while. But I'm happy you were able to burn the midnight oil with me and shoot the shit. I had a ton of fun. If people want to go ahead and subscribe to Break the Bell, which is a podcast that's on my Overcast app, I listen. You've had me on too many times. I'm pretty sure I've pushed away some people from you. How could they do so?
No, yeah, I love having you on, and you're usually one of my first if I need to talk about something and like Bill can't show up or something, or I'm usually like, Remso, come bullshit with me, and you're like, great. And then you come on, you're like, I've got 20 minutes. And it's like, all right, cool. I'll take what I can get. Yeah, you can find my show all over social media, Break the Bell Podcast. Most of them is the handle Break the Bell Pod. A couple of them is just Break the Bell. I don't remember which. For the most part, all the majors like Facebook, Twitter. I still want to say Parler because rest in peace, Parler. The whole Instagram, everywhere. Just Break the Bell Pod. We're on YouTube. We live stream, like I said, on YouTube every Monday night, 7 Central Time. We just shoot the shit about what's going on in the world and call out bullshit for the most part of what's going on. And like you said, we like to dig into a lot of history background into what's going on, just so we can have a better understanding ourselves, as well as maybe give other people more understanding of what's going on. So all over social media, Break the Bell Pod.
I'll make it easy for you folks. I'll also include it in the show notes.
Perfect. Awesome.
All right, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on. When you asked me, I was just like, you always drop everything to come on my show, or you just really legitimately have nothing going on ever.
My life. Well, now I have jujitsu a few days a week, so you have to compete with that. But yeah, other than that, I have no life.
All right, fair enough. Thanks for having me on, Remso. It's always a pleasure.
All right, thanks, man. Good night, everyone.